Last year was a great year, and it's finally time to talk about just how great it was. Hello there, welcome back to the channel. I am Grand Moff Tony, and this week, slightly behind schedule, we are finally here to talk about the top 10 best Black Series figures of 2024. Now, like I said, last year was a fantastic year for the Black Series. We had new characters, we had old characters being revisited, we have the return of vehicles in the Black Series, which is mind-blowing. I never thought I'd be talking about that again. And for those of us who sit around making lists about what figures we wish would come out, a lot of us had our wish lists utterly blown away, and now they need complete revision because of the great figures that came out last year. Now, as per usual, couple of rules. The first one has to be a figure that came out last year, and secondly, it has to be a figure that I personally picked up last year. So if you're looking to see Pirate Captain Brutus somewhere on this list, you won't find him, because neither did I. I can only talk about figures that I've got in hand, it's just me. With all that said and done, let's get into this. Let's talk about some honorable mentions. First up, Dedra Meero from Andor. Absolutely brilliant figure. Now, when that Imperial Officer Tala figure came out, I think it was the year before last, it was kind of dull. There wasn't really anything going for it. This Dedra figure is next level. The hair, the paintwork, and the fact that she can hold her datapad exactly the way you want her to. This is what a female Imperial officer looks like, and this is incredible. For my second honorable mention, I wanted to shout out the B1 Battle Droid with the Stap. This set was so good for me to get open because this nostalgic packaging. I had this figure when I was younger. I got it for Christmas of 1999, and this just took me right back to it. I mean, my one had firing missiles, but yeah, beggars can't be choosers. It was an incredible vehicle. It looks great, and I believe it's still available, so if you don't have yours, go out and get it. And for my final honorable mention, I wanted to shout out Padawan Jeki Lon. What a fantastic little figure this is. The Acolyte wave was kind of hit and miss. Some really good ones like this one, and another one that we'll talk about later, and some not so good ones like Sol and Indara. So it's kind of a mashup of quality, but the Jeki figure is absolutely fantastic. The face looks perfect. I love the robes. She's got the good soft goods Jedi robes like Yord has. It's a fantastic figure, and it deserves an honorable mention. With the honorable mentions out of the way, let's finally get into the list itself. Coming in at number 10 is the Peridea Grand Admiral Thrawn. You had to know that this figure was going to be on my list. It's Thrawn. But honestly, this is such a great update to that old Red Line figure. The new Imperial officer body with the new overlay and the fantastic photoreal likeness to Lars Mikkelsen as he appeared in the Ahsoka series. This is honestly like one of my favorite figures. Like, not just that came out last year, but just in general, this is one of my favorite figures in my collection. Now, don't get me wrong, I know it doesn't rank as highly among the best figures of the line, but I'm just saying, personally, it's a personal favorite. The decision to include an expression hand instead of the traditional gripping claw hand really takes this figure to the next level and enables you to get him in all kinds of Thrawn-like poses. I feel like I was way more excited about this figure than a lot of other people, but there you have it. The Peridea Grand Admiral Thrawn comes in at number 10 on my list. At number 9, we're talking about the Acolyte again because it's Yord Fandar, by far and away. Coming in at number 9, we are talking about the Acolyte again because it is Yord Fandar, the far and away best figure to come out of the Acolyte so far. The updated Jedi mold on this body is incredible. It just allows him to pull off so many great poses, and because he's got one of the good soft goods robes, it sits exactly the way you want it to get him into all kinds of action and battle ready poses. I love the crisp yellow color of his lightsaber blade. It just looks so clean and so sharp. This is just an absolutely fantastic figure. I absolutely love it. It's, like I said, far and away the best figure that they've done for this show so far. I hope that continues to go up when Venestra comes out, and maybe even the Stranger when we finally get to see him. But in the meantime, I wanted to really shout this figure out because it is so good, and it really gave me a moment of reflection on how good these Jedi figures can be when they're done properly. Yord Fandar comes in at number 9. For number 8, we're talking about Skeleton Crew. Now, I may not have tracked down Brutus, but I did get Neil for Christmas, and this figure is just so good. Not only is it a perfect realization of my favourite Skeleton Crew character by far, the level of detail on this figure is incredible. Having moulded storage for his different accessories inside of his backpack, little hooks on his belt to hang things off. You could just load this guy up and he just looks just how you want him to look. It's Neil. It's Neil, for crying out loud. He just looks like Neil. I'm only 2 figures deep into the Skeleton Crew wave and I'm having a fantastic time already. This figure is just awesome. The different colours and the way they all complement each other to make this really very colourful character. He's bright blue and then he's wearing these bright colours all over his clothes. He just looks so cool, and he pulls off exactly the kind of poses that you want to get out of this, like whether he's searching with his torch or whether he's just looking absolutely terrified. Neil is an absolute diamond geezer and he comes in at number 8. At number 7 is another Peridea figure. It's the Ahsoka Tano Peridea. I was waiting for a worthy follow-up to what is, let's face it, my favourite Black Series figure of all time, which is the Corvus Ahsoka Tano from The Mandalorian. I didn't talk about the initial Ahsoka series Ahsoka when it came out because it is basically the same figure. It's basically the same figure as the Corvus one. Maybe it has some slightly different colours on it. I've never really put the two together long enough to really figure out what it is that makes them different. This one, on the other hand, is absolutely a worthy successor to that figure. It looks great. I love the new colour scheme and the changes that they've made to the outfit and the head sculpt. It all just looks so good. The face printing on this figure is next level, and it just looks so perfect. Now, do I wish it had come with a robe? Yes. Do I think they're probably going to release another one down the line with a robe? Probably. Will that be the only one of the 3 that I probably end up picking up? Most likely. I will probably end up picking this one up if it comes back with a robe, but in the meantime, I'm in love with this figure. I've had so much fun, like, going through the various different production stills of the Ahsoka series and trying to mimic them with this figure, and it just pulls them off so well. It looks great, it's 1000% Ahsoka, and it feels so good to finally have a worthy follow-up to my favourite Black Series figure. 100% far and away worth it. Brilliant figure. Comes in at number 7. Speaking of the Mandalorian, coming in at number 6 is the Glavis Ringworld Mandalorian. Far and away the best Din Djarin, best Mandalorian, best figure they've done, probably from that entire show, to do with this character. And it's not even from his own show, it's from the Book of Boba Fett. Honestly, this figure is just perfect. They finally gave us the soft goods robe for it, they finally corrected that mistake, and it comes with everything you need for a great Book of Boba Fett / Season 3 Mando. You've got the Darksaber, you have his jetpack, you have everything that he had left at the end of Season 2 and the start of those 2 shows. I don't know if maybe they've changed the paint style on the armor, but it just looks so shiny. So much better than the original Beskar Mando release. And there are some serious next level engineering choices going on in this body. It feels like, in the same way that the last figure was a successor to that Ahsoka figure, this feels like the successor to the Deathwatch Mandalorian that we've been waiting for since that figure came out. This one finally feels like it's taking that articulation and applying it to a character that we know and love, and he just looks so good. I've had the original red box Mandalorian at the head of my Mando display ever since I put that shelf together, and this figure has finally supplanted it. It's finally taken his place at the head of the Mandalorian display because it's just incredible. This is an absolutely incredible figure. It's the best Mando that they've ever done, and I very much doubt it'll ever be topped. For that, it comes in at number 6 on my list. At number 5, we have the last good guy of the list. It's Ki-Adi-Mundi. This figure was like a legend to Black Series collectors. It was previewed like years ago at a Hasbro PulseCon, I think it was. And then every now and then they'd just be like, ooh, a whisper, is Ki-Adi-Mundi coming? And months turned into years, and then finally he started showing up on shelves, and the wait was absolutely worth it. It is an exceptional figure. It is probably the best Jedi they've ever done. It just looks so good, and the joints in the wrist make holding the lightsaber in one hand, 2 hand, it's a piece of cake. It just looks great, and this head, don't get me started on this head because it is so good. Both the detailing in the actual face itself and the decision to include his little ponytail at the top. It is such a great figure. It's so good. We really did have two absolute banger Jedi figures this year with this guy and Yord. They both came out looking so great. I love how unique his costume is, even compared to other Jedi characters, because, Ki-Adi-Mundi very much has his own style. He's got his brown hoodie that he wears and his not traditional Jedi robes. I don't know, man, I'm not usually a fan of waiting so long for a figure that I'm excited about, but if they come out this good, by all means, take your time. Ki-Adi-Mundi comes in at number 5. Coming in at number 4, we never thought they'd do it. I certainly thought it wouldn't work, but they finally did. It's the Droideka, the Destroyer Droid. The roly-roly droid. Oh my god, this guy just makes me happy. I remember when I saw it on a shelf, and there were 3 more of them behind it, and I just remember thinking, that's a big box. That's a very, very big box. And it was a big box because this is a big droid. The Black Series, I say this every time I'm doing a list of any kind, but they do such a great job with droids, it just makes sense that this would come out to be one of the best figures of the year. Going the extra mile and having it being able to fold up into a ball and roll away, it was just an extra layer of attention to detail that I really, really respected. Like, this figure is so well engineered. I figured it was just going to be a statue. Like, it wasn't going to be able to move all that much, because otherwise it would fall over. Like, maybe I thought it would be able to go into a ball, but it wouldn't have been a very good ball. I remember I had a Droideka figure when I was a kid that wasn't meant to roll up, so I just kind of found a way to mush it together until I could roll it across my bedroom floor in a reasonably realistic way. But this one, it feels like they've pulled up like every Star Wars visual dictionary that's ever been published, turned to the Droideka page and just gone, right, what happens to this thing when it folds up? Because we could probably do it. And you know what? They did. Add to that, they got some incredible moving pistons in the arms, the gorgeous paintwork on the armor that just looks great. This figure was an absolute banger, and I am so pleased they finally did it. Now all you gotta do is just keep repainting it and keep re-releasing it, and I'll keep buying it because the Droideka is absolutely fantastic, and it comes in at number 4 on my list. Coming in at the number 3 spot of my top 10 best Black Series figures of 2024 is Darth Sidious, the first, last, and only Revenge of the Sith figure in the Galaxy packaging. And what a figure it is. Like, this really captures Darth Sidious at the height of his power. Like, he is never more powerful than he is at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and this is just such a good way of capturing that. I love that evil little smile he has under his hood. I love the decision to mix medium on this and give us a soft goods robe and a hard plastic hood so that we can capture that truly iconic shape and way that his hood falls over his head. The lightsaber is so cool. I wish there had been a second one, but you know what? Screen accuracy, you only had the one at the time, so this figure is just great. It takes everything that's great about that Book of Boba Fett Luke Skywalker body and just amps it up to give us the most nimble, the most well-articulated, the most athletic Darth Sidious that we've ever got. And the way they've stitched up his sleeves and his cuffs to make his arms look all poofy, exactly the way it looks in the movie. This is an absolute work of art of a figure. I put it on my bookcase to kind of take a cool picture of it, and he's still there. He hasn't moved. He's kind of hiding behind a plant, but he's still there. This figure is just incredible, and with rumors of more Darth Sidious figures coming down the line, I could not be happier. So this figure comes in solidly at number 3 on my list. At number 2 is the Super Battle Droid. Now, this figure was another one of those ones that I thought they were never gonna do. They never do it. I had bought into all that online propaganda that, oh, the legs are too thin, oh, it's too top heavy, it'll just fall over. When they made this figure, they really knocked it out of the park, because this is probably the best droid they've ever done. I feel like we've had a lot of those this year. We've had a lot of this is the best insert description here that they've ever done. And the Super Battle Droid is far and away that for the droids in the Black Series. Not only is it masterfully sculpted, not only is it engineered with absolute perfect articulation to capture every Super Battle Droid pose you could ever want to do. Not only did they go and sneak in the feature where you can remove the armor and expose the battle damage like the Republic Commando game, but every single inch of this figure feels like it was a masterpiece from the ground up. The different shades of metallic grey in the armor, the decision to include a blast effect so you can pop that on the end of his cannon, and even the blast effect has options. The blast effect comes apart, so you can just have a muzzle flash or have the full-blown bolt coming out. It's such a good figure, and it stands so well. Honestly, this figure is so well done. It is an absolute masterpiece all over. Any angle that you look at it, any pose you put it in, it just looks natural, and hey, it's a B2 Super Battle Droid. Simple as that. The B2 comes in at number 2 on my list. However, my pick for the single best Black Series figure of 2024 is the 2024 Darth Maul. I know what you're thinking. Which one are you talking about? Are you talking about the one with the Bloodfin? Are you talking about the single card release? Are you talking about the 3-pack? I'm talking about all of them. I'm talking about all 3 of those figures because that's part of why I love this figure so much, and I'll come back to that. But let me gush over this figure for a minute. Having a look at the first iteration of this figure with the Bloodfin, this is such a great set. It perfectly captures that old nostalgic packaging for the original item, and it was something that I was never able to get back in the day. I had the Stap when I was a kid, but I was never able to get the Bloodfin. It just was never available. Finally getting to add this vehicle to my collection just feels so great. I absolutely love the soft goods on the Darth Maul. The soft goods robe perfectly captures the look of his robe, because that was a genuine concern of mine. I didn't just want a default generic black robe. Darth Maul's robe has so much personality, and they've completely captured it here. Plus the inclusion of a Sith probe droid with this set, the binoculars, his little wrist comm. This was an absolutely beautiful set, and the way the soft goods sit on the figure is so good. The way the figure sits on the speeder bike is so good. It's just a perfect set. But let's talk about the other release of this figure, the mainline Darth Maul. The only real difference between this one and the Bloodfin is the fact that, hey, you don't get the Bloodfin. And they've also changed the soft goods around the skirt into a more hard plastic. And honestly, I thought I was going to dislike it. I was able to pick it up for a small discount, and I ended up coming away loving this figure so much more than I expected to. A major part of Darth Maul's character is his athleticism. It's how flexible he is. We talked about this when we did the old Master Maul on a previous list, and to a lesser extent the Season 7 Clone Wars Maul. But the original Phantom Menace Maul completely fails to capture that side of this character, and that's what makes this new one the best figure of the year for me, because it is such a marked improvement over that original figure, and it just feels like they recognize that this is not only an important character, it's an important appearance for this character, because they've done Clone Wars Mauls and Rebels Mauls and Gaming Greats Mauls and Topless Mauls, any kind of Maul you like. They finally recognized that something was wrong with that original release way back in, I think it was the Orange Line. And they came back to this Maul with a vengeance. It is so good. This one is just perfect. The paintwork on the tattoos and the face, the molding of the head and the entire body, and his the very unique way that his robes sit on him. But far and away, the thing I wanted to come back to on this is this got my seal of approval mostly because of how they released it. We've had a very sketchy year with very problematic releases. You know, releasing those Baylan and Shin figures back in 2023 or whenever it was, and then coming out with the robe versions later. That felt really shifty, and I didn't like it, and I talked about not liking it on the channel, which I don't usually take time to talk about things that I don't like, but that I didn't like, and I wanted to talk about it. They released all 3 of these Darth Mauls within a reasonable successive time period, to the point where if you want Maul on the Sith Speeder, you can get him. If you don't need the Sith Speeder, you just want Maul, you can get him. It does come without the robe though, but if you do want the robe but you don't want the Speeder, you can pick him up in this 3-pack with a newly worked up Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. And that choice, giving that level of choice to collectors with a new figure, instead of being like, here's Darth Maul and the Sith Speeder. A year later, here's a single pack release of that Darth Maul that we did. And maybe another year after that, here's a 3-pack for you. It just feels like a step in the right direction, and not only that, but it is an absolutely incredible figure. It's so good. If I had to pick a true favourite out of the two and a true, number one pick, it would be the one with the blood fin, because that vehicle just means so much to me, that set means so much to me. It has a warm little nostalgia pillow right in the middle of my little geeky heart, and it just makes me so happy. Boy, do I have stories about 9-year-old, 10-year-old me's efforts to go out and get some iteration of the Sith Speeder in his collection. But yeah, for possibly the best glow-up in the history of the Black Series, for the best release schedule and release method that I have seen in a very long time, and for just being the most fun I've had with an action figure this year, the 2024 Darth Maul with the Sith Speeder comes in as the number one best Black Series figure of 2024. So there you have it. Those were my picks for the top 10 best Black Series figures of 2024. So let me pass this subject off to you. What were your favourite figures from the past year? I imagine the Super Battle Droid's going to get a lot of people in its corner. It's a great figure, I absolutely love it. I've just had more fun with the Darth Maul. Let me know your own lists down below, and I will get back to each and every one of you. In the meantime, however, I've been Grand Moff Tony. Those were my picks for the top 10 best Black Series figures of 2024. You may subscribe when ready. The joint... His ass. It's his ass. The worth was weighted. Yeah, the worth was weighted.